what's up? I'm Steven.
And I'm Clay.
And we are
the Hills Maniacs.
And in today's video, we are going to be ranking the movies of the MCU from just Phase 1. We will be including Captain Marvel in this because chronologically in the timeline that takes place, you know, between Captain America and Iron Man, it would be considered in Phase 1, even though it was filmed during, like right before Endgame, or it was shown in theaters before. Which is Phase 3. But we're doing like a MCU rewatch, so we wanted to watch it chronologically and based on when all the movies would take place. So that will be included in this. So in total, there are 7 movies we'll be ranking in this video today. And we're going to get started. So number 7 for me, I have Thor, just because I didn't really think there wasn't enough like action in the movie for me. It was basically just Thor gets banished to Earth, gets his powers back, goes back to Asgard, defeats Loki. That's basically the premise of the whole movie, summed up in a nutshell. But what I like about these superhero movies is having a lot of action and battle sequences and stuff, and this one just didn't have enough of that for me. So that's why it's like the lowest on my list at number 7. It did, it was meant to be an introductory, an introduction to who Thor is, just like all these other Phase 1 movies were introductions to the characters, but I just didn't feel it was as powerful as some of the other ones. What'd you have for number 7?
Iron Man 2. That's all I'm saying.
Nothing about it?
Nope, this movie was garbage.
What didn't you like about Iron Man 2?
The whole movie.
Why?
The fact that they made an Iron Man 2.
Well, they needed to, because he had to discover the new element that would keep him alive for a while.
Okay, the villains were trash. Whiplash and Justin Hammer. They were trash.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
The whole scene... I didn't get the whole thing with Tony having to race his car, and then Whiplash attacked him, and all that. It just didn't... And then, I think the best part of Iron Man 2 was when Rhodey got his suit. I think that was the best part of Iron Man 2.
Became War Machine.
Other than I really don't... Every time I rewatch the MCU, I dread watching that movie. Because I hated it.
You hated it more than Thor, though?
I did. I would rather watch Thor than watch Iron Man 2.
I disagree, because number 6 for me was Iron Man 2. I liked it, obviously not as much as some of the other movies, but I did like it better than Thor, because there was a lot of action in this movie, the battle sequences, and we got to look into what Tony Stark would do when he's dying, because he was basically dying from the thing in his chest, and he needed to find a new element, so that kind of added sort of realism to it, what would somebody do in this situation. He was basically messing around the whole movie because he thought he was going to die. And then once he discovered the new element, it gave him the new life that he needed. And he ends up... it was technically an old villain, that his father would have technically created, because Ivan Vanko was the son of the other Vanko guy. I forget his father's name, but they mentioned it in the movie. He worked with Howard Stark. So that does kind of play into that as well, that they're both inventors. They both have the same kind of technological prowess to build all these prowess to build all these machines and stuff. And he does technically create the same sort of Iron Man armor that Tony creates, but it wasn't.
So did Obadiah Stane. So
he didn't do it himself. Whiplash did it himself.
Well, not really. Justin Hammer.
But Iron Man 2 is number 6 on my list, just because for the action, and it did introduce War Machine and everything, and kind of give us that look into how Tony deals with dying, essentially. And it once again established that Tony can't do it himself. He needs help. Every Iron Man movie, basically, he had help from somebody. He wasn't... Even though he was being selfish, it's like he learns to work with others, basically. And it also introduced the Avengers Initiative.
My number 6 was the newest movie on the list that came out, the most recent, and that's Captain Marvel, or as I like to call it, Crapton Marvel, because this movie was also garbage. There's a reason I didn't see it in the theaters, because it just from the previews it didn't look that good. And then Steven convinced me to buy it when it came out on DVD so that I could have all the MCU movies.
It wasn't that.
And I watched it on DVD, and that's 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. I like it a lot more than Iron Man 2, I'll give it that. But the movie overall, the only thing it had going for it was that it introduced Captain Marvel into the MCU. That's the only thing it had going for it. Other than that, I mean, the Skrulls are cool to see the Skrulls, but we didn't need that whole scene with the Flarkin cutting Nick Fury's eye, giving him the eye patch.
It was funny.
We didn't need anything with the whole Marvel thing, and it was. I didn't like it.
I understood it.
I didn't like it.
Anyway, number 5 for me is the Incredible Hulk. Like, yeah, it did have that bit of action to it and everything, and it's kind of just, Bruce Banner's on the run, and throughout the whole thing, they keep making him angry. You'd think they would learn the hard way, but so then he ends up, he's still a fugitive basically at the end of the movie too, but he has to fight against the Abomination, things like that. It was destructive, and it did also, all these did tie into the Avengers, which I did like, but this one not as much, I guess, because they ended up switching who played the Hulk anyways for the Avengers.
I mean, they did that with Rhodey and Iron Man.
Well, yeah,
so
but
they went from Terrence Howard to.
But I mean, all in all, it still did show us like how out of control Banner is, or he's at the end of the movie. I guess he did learn how to control the Hulk a little bit, or at least control it enough where he can become the Hulk whenever he wants, rather than letting it take control. So that did introduce that, which does come into play in Avengers as well. So that's why I put that at number 5. It wasn't like the best of the MCU movies, but
well, I had Thor for number 5. I disagree with you because I like the Hulk more than I like Thor. But Thor was definitely better than Captain Marvel and Iron Man 2, which for an origin story of Thor, it wasn't that bad of a movie overall. Being directed by Kenneth Branagh, who I kind of like as an actor and a director. But overall, I think it did good introducing the characters, and it had a unique concept where it showed, it kind of took the concept from Captain Marvel, which I know came out after it, but the concept of what is given can be taken away when Odin takes away Thor's power, in a sense, and then Thor ends up getting it back later on in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that concept because the mixture of that whole thing with Loki being the scumbag that he is, and trying to say that Odin's dead and trying to keep Thor away from Asgard so that he can rule, and then the setup for the Avengers movie from Thor was really, because it's the one right before Avengers chronologically, I believe.
Yeah, because that was a year before.
The way they set it up for the Avengers, I mean, I like it. I just don't. It's not my favorite, because it has its flaws. But overall, I think it was a good movie. So I disagree with you on number 5. But I will say this: my number 4 is Incredible Hulk, so it's not.
It's not relatively higher. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I did like Incredible Hulk too. The fight scene with Abomination was
destructive.
It was probably one of my favorite fight scenes. I know it was a quick fight scene, but it was still.
Well, yeah, and it kind of showed us how the Hulk can get stronger, whereas Abomination was already as strong as he could be. But the angrier the Hulk gets, the stronger he gets. And
I like the setup because I didn't realize it at first that Abomination is technically still alive at the end of the Incredible Hulk, and so it could end up coming back.
He probably got
at some point could end up coming back. Maybe that'll be the next MCU villain.
Or one of them.
Or one of them, yeah, if somebody comes back and brings back all these old villains, like the Spider-Man villains or something, you could have all these different villains come back, so that would be, you never know. But what did you have for 4?
He does come back in the Lego video games. Anyways, number 4 for me was Captain America. These last four were tough for me to decide where to put them. Like, I liked Captain America because it basically foreshadowed a lot of, like, it came out after, like, this was the last one that was actually released in theaters, but it's the first one chronologically. But I like how it did sort of foreshadow, like, it talked about Odin and Thor, you know, like, and we learn about how the Tesseract got there from, I think it was Odin's father, or Odin.
Well, I think Odin sent it,
or it might have been Odin hid the Tesseract on Earth. We find that out in Thor, and Red Skull's after the Tesseract through the whole movie to use it to make weapons and things. So that played into that. There was the Super Soldier Serum introduced, which, you know, was given to Captain America, but that also comes into play in the Incredible Hulk. So you have that, and then Howard Stark ties into Iron Man. You know, so in a way that foreshadowed, that introduced like all four characters. All four of the main Avengers characters, like right there in the movie Captain America. I mean, it didn't have a lot of action. I mean, it did, but not as much as some of the other ones, I guess. Like the Avengers was just nuts, but you know. But yeah, that's why I put it at number 4. I didn't like it more than the next 3, I guess, but his shield is cool, though. I still like how I don't understand how it bounces off of things and always comes back to them, but, you know, whatever.
Because it's freaking metal.
Because movies, I guess. But
because it's metal.
What you got at number 4?
I had Incredible Hulk for 4.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Number 3, I have Iron Man, then. I still like this movie to this day, because it was just a fun little action movie with a guy inventing all these suits and stuff. I think it would just be cool to fly around in one of the Iron Man suits. He's a really cool character, even though Tony Stark is a bit like of a selfish billionaire, but he kind of learns his ways by the end. Oh yeah, he kind of learns, you know, the error of his ways once he gets captured in the cave and everything, and just the fact that he was able to build one out of a box of scraps
in a cave.
In a cave, yeah, but
with help.
With help still.
With help from Jensen.
That I just love that character development for Iron Man in that movie and stuff. And I think that was his best movie out of the 3 that Iron Man has had for sure. So that's what I liked about Iron Man.
Yeah, I also had Iron Man 3 or Iron Man for number 3, not Iron Man 3. That's a whole nother fate. Yeah. Iron Man for number 3. I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it because it is the movie that started the MCU, and without Iron Man, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. But I can't say I liked it better than my first 2. So for me, Iron Man is at number 3. Still a good movie. You know, I mean, for its time at least. It came out in 2008.
2008. That was the very first movie.
This was the first, I think, good Marvel comic movie that we actually got. Because like before that, we had like Ghost Rider and
I don't even know if that came out yet.
Yeah,
exactly. There were older ones.
Fantastic Four was out before that, and it was
yeah.
You know, so I mean, Iron Man really set the bar for at the time at least what a comic book movie should be, and so that's why it's at number 3.
Number 2, I put Captain Marvel here because a lot of it, I love the tie-in to Avengers Endgame at the end of it, which we didn't watch, like the end credit scene when we rewatched this because, you know, that hasn't happened yet, essentially in this timeline. But
that's because the movie's
it tied into that. It tied into she gets her powers from the Tesseract, which kind of showed that again. So the Tesseract was basically in almost all 4 movies. I think it was in all 5 movies. Well, maybe not Iron Man. Neither the Iron Man. It was in most of the movies in Phase 1 featured the Tesseract in some way, whether it was a minor form or just passing mention, whatever. But also the Skrulls. I still think there's probably Skrulls out there somewhere on Earth right now in the MCU.
Nick Fury.
Probably Nick. It gives you that air of mystery, like who could be a Skrull? Are any of our heroes actually real people, or have they been Skrulls the whole time?
Yes.
What has Nick Fury been doing with the Skrulls? We find that out at the end of, well, that's Spider-Man Far From Home, but that'll be later on. But so having them introduced into the MCU as well adds this whole new depth to it. Like,
true,
nobody could really be who you think they are. They could be a Skrull, and it kind of keeps you guessing.
So.
What would you have for number 2?
Captain America, the first Avenger. definitely, I think out of the three, I think it's out of the three Captain America movies, I think it's my least favorite. But it's still a good movie, still a good origin story. I love the way that puny little Steve becomes big, massive, Captain America, and it's just, I mean, just overall, it's a great movie, and the old lady with the machine gun when he's getting the super soldier serum was probably the best part of that entire movie. She just pulled out this machine gun. I mean, she missed every shot, but it was still cool to see this old freaking lady with a machine gun.
It was fun.
But I had a great time with Captain America: The First Avenger. I like all three of them, but out of the three, I think it's my least favorite. But it's still a really good movie. That's why it's at number 2 on the list. And I think we both agree what number one is.
Number one was The Avengers.
Yeah, if you were keeping track.
I mean, at the time, I remember how excited I was. Like, I think I'm not sure if The Avengers was actually the very first movie I saw in the MCU, because I think friends at my school were talking about it, and then I decided to go, check out what it was. I think I might have just got it on DVD or something, or saw it on TV, maybe. I don't know if I did see it in theaters, but that's I think that's what kick-started this for me, was I didn't really know who any of the heroes were, and then after that, I went back and watched all the solo, like Captain America, Thor, Hulk, and Iron Man and stuff. And then from there, I was into it. I was like, okay, well, that's pretty cool that they brought all them together.
Right.
Just the action sequences in this, like Loki comes back. I don't know. The only thing I didn't understand about this movie is how they opened a portal from the other side of the Tesseract. But
doors open from both sides,
I guess. But and then Loki brings the army of the Chitauri down here, and
that's what I said. If you watch the end credit scene of Thor, where they had Dr. Selvig talking to Nick Fury, it shows Loki standing there as if he was already kind of possessing Dr. Selvig, and I said,
before he even gets to that point?
I said, what if, in a way, Loki was influencing Dr. Selvig to open the portal on the other side so Loki could come through, even if he wasn't directly controlling him. He was somehow manipulating his mind so that he would set it up so that the portal would open, so that Loki could come through and this whole plan could work out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It's kind of interesting to think about, how he might have influenced Selvig even before he actually got there, before he used his scepter to, take over his mind. But yeah, all in all, I mean, the Avengers movie was just awesome as heck, and they got better as they went too. Okay.
Age of
Ultron didn't get the love it deserves, but anyways, that's for another time. So there you have it, guys. That's our rankings of MCU Phase 1. Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you agree with our where we placed each of these? Do you think they should have been in a different order? And just maybe tell us which one of those movies was your favorite out of the MCU, out of Phase 1 of the MCU as well. Take care, everybody.